Just know, go ahead and put got it, that you approve that this is being recorded, and you were good to go. So you can keep smiling during the recording of this session. We're so glad that you're here for this season. I don't know why it went back to the top, so we're going to go over some Zoom features, a season overview. Then Joyce Yang is going to tell us some terms she came up with for the movements of the concerto and what to expect at the concert hall, and some questions and answer. First of all, FYI, under view at the top of your Zoom screen, you can choose galley view, where you see everyone in the room, or you can select speaker view. So you might want to play around with that a little bit. I think everyone has done this. In the bottom left corner, if there's a red arrow through your microphone, then you are muted. And that's where you should be unless you're chiming in to talk. The mute and unmute button in the bottom left of your screen. And now, just for 1 second, if you go to the little video camera at the bottom left of your screen and the little caret top, you can choose a virtual background. So if you get bored by what I'm saying, you can click on that. And then by doing it, you'll be able to choose a virtual background if you've uploaded one, or to fade out your background. That's kind of a fun thing to do. So let's take 1 minute. Go ahead and experiment with that. The camera you see in the lower left of your Zoom screen, the caret top going up, and then the choose virtual background. And I'm not seeing anyone try that fun virtual background. I would think that Larry Gardner would do that with a big bassoon in the back of his screen. Or Clarice, maybe with her son playing the piano or something. So just know that that is an option, and you can upload any picture you want to your virtual backgrounds to have the Golden Gate Bridge in the background, or whatever you want. The last thing I'll point out in Zoom, and let's everybody try this. Next to the share screen icon, there's a little thing that looks like a bubble, a talkie bubble. And if you click that, the chat feature comes up, and you can type something in the chat. So you can type a question, you can type a comment. I'm going to type, "Hello, everyone, welcome." And that's one way you can communicate. You even can send drop-down menu. You can choose a private message to someone that you're happy to see them. And that way it's like passing notes in your high school classroom, right? So you can have fun with your fellow people. So Larry said hello. Thank you for that. Everyone, see if you can put something into the chat. You could even do a private message and pick Joyce and say, "Hi, Joyce, looking forward to hear you perform." It's kind of a fun feature in Zoom by clicking that chat button. So I'll go ahead. We have a wonderful program coming up this weekend. Joyce Yang is our special guest, of course, playing the Liszt Piano Concerto No. 1. Also a very moving piece by George Walker, lyric for strings, and the Mozart Symphony 41, which is the Jupiter Symphony. Then in October, we're going to feature our oboist and principal violinist, which is really, really exciting, in the Bach Concerto for Violin. We also have a contemporary piece on the program, which I'm personally excited about. Same for the next concert in November. We have Gabriella Frank returning, so another contemporary composition. And we get to hear the concerto for 2 pianos, and our very own Rei is going to be featured on that. So that is so exciting. So now let's move to our special guest, Joyce Yang, who's been to the Fresno Philharmonic many times, and we're happy to have her back. She was born in Seoul, Korea. I think it's fascinating. Her mom was a molecular biologist and her dad was a chemical engineer. She started piano at 4, went to Juilliard, won the silver at Van Cliburn, has done all of these wonderful things, and now she's returning for her 5th performance. No, she had her 5th performance in 2019 with the Mozart. So I guess this is the 6th time she's been here. Here's from her last visit with the Fresno Philharmonic. I thought these pictures might be fun. You might want to go on her website. She has like a timeline that's really a fun thing. She also has a very interesting blog that you can read. So this is her dad and her mom, and Joyce says she looks like Kelsey Grammer, right, in this picture. There she is at the age she started to do piano. So that's when she started, age 4. Here she is at her first recital, and I think she said she had 7 layers on that dress to make it poof out so much. And then this is when she moved to Stony Brook, and I love this picture because it captures what I think her personality is so wonderfully. And I don't know about these dogs, but I hope she tells us about these dogs. Before we turn to Joyce, here's a little thing. Liszt is known for having really large hands, right? So musicians, his range was a 13th compared to Daniel Barenboim, whose is a 9th. And you see that Scriabin only had about an octave. Rachmaninoff also had a 13th. So, you know, hand size does make a difference. That's a joke, by the way, that hand size makes a difference. So without further ado, let us meet and greet our special guest and Joyce Yang.
Hello, everyone.
We are so delighted that you're here, and it's so nice of you to participate in this experiment with us. So is this your 6th time with the Fresno Philharmonic? Is that right?
It definitely seems like a return. It's good to be back. Yeah, it's wonderful to return to a place that I like and know that I'm going to really enjoy it, and to make live music again. It's truly exciting.
So what has it been like for you briefly? I noticed from your Facebook that you've been doing some concerts. A lot of them appear to be like in amphitheaters and stuff. Is it still kind of new to be back in the concert hall for you?
This will be really a brand new experience coming back into the hall. All summer long, I've been in outdoor settings, and we got everything from thunderstorm, rainstorm, smoke in the air, all kinds of things that it really felt like we were playing chamber music with weather all summer long. And being in a concert hall last night, it was like actually from the stage, I hear myself about 10 times louder, as well as the orchestra, because of the acoustics, because it's also very, very lively in the hall we'll perform this weekend. So it's kind of like my earplugs came off, you know, and I was really in the middle of all that music. So it's good to be, back indoors again, and with wonderful acoustics.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so let's turn our attention then to the piece you're playing. So Liszt is known for having really wide reach, right? So the first question is, how wide is your reach?
My hands are medium large. I think it's, I wish it was a little bit bigger. That would solve many problems. But looking at that chart, that cartoon, I'm somewhere between, I think, Lang and Rachmaninoff. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Well, anyway, maybe it was Barenboim, but I can reach a 10th, which is octave, and from a C to C and then D, E. I can reach the E barely, but if there are any notes stuck in the middle, then it becomes very challenging. But as a pianist, I think with my reach, I could pretty much conquer most reach big repertoire, except for maybe some Rachmaninoff chords. And Liszt is really obsessed with octaves, which I can reach very comfortably. So thank goodness for that. I think without that reach, this piece would have been absolutely impossible. But I was thinking, if you have slightly bigger hands, then all those jumps, I don't know if it would make it easier or harder, but there are a lot of sort of gymnastic like jumps in this concerto, which I think makes every pianist just run to the practice room every morning for weeks and months leading up to the concert.
Right, very, very physical in those areas, right? So before people came in the room, just to sort of frame the piece, starting from the large, you were sharing with us some of the terms that you came up with for the movement. So the third movement is allegretto, the fourth movement is allegro, but you have different names for the movement. So that might actually help the audience if you share the names that you have for those.
Well, the piece starts in a very, very dramatic point. We just jump off a cliff, basically, and we go through these small roller coasters that just goes from one key to another, lots of surprises, lots of jagged turns. And we get to a very beautiful song-like slow movement that's just nestled between the very exciting outer movements. And then Liszt wakes us up with the sounds of the triangle coming out of this so-called slow movement. They're all interwoven together, so you have to really pay attention to the signs, and you will hear little glimpse of the sounds of the triangle, which you rarely hear in the concert, actually, let alone to be completely alone. So this is like a little wind chime that starts the witch's dance, and Liszt puts allegretto, but compared to other pianists, I think allegretto for Liszt is still pretty fast. But from that point on, we'll get fast, faster, hysterical, maddening, and we will just go to the absolute edge or climb to the very top of the Mount Everest with everything we've got. But as a performer, of course, I have to make sure that I have, my parachute when it's needed, and I don't push myself absolutely to that edge, but we'll get pretty close. And I think it's that excitement, that virtuosity, that fire that we get from Liszt that is so infectious and just gets everyone so excited. And this is the kind of piece we absolutely will be on the same boat heading toward that very exciting finish.
And I think that last movement, when we were talking, you said your sort of label for that is lose your mind. Is that right?
Or don't lose your mind.
Or don't lose your mind, right? Because it's frenetic. And the start of that is movement 3, which is where hex starts to break loose. So you're thinking in real dramatic ways. Well, we will play for you after Joyce leaves, but we want to be respectful of her time. The triangle segment and also the very beginning that she said is like jumping off a cliff. But before she leaves, let's open it up and see if anyone has a question for Joyce. Let's make it interactive.
And if you have a question, unmute yourself. You have to unmute to ask a question.
Or we're monitoring the
look in the chat room too,
if you want to do that. So Joyce, do you have a favorite part, a part that you really look forward to in the piece while we're waiting for another question?
My favorite parts. There are so many sort of inner dialogue with Liszt in this piece. You have to really find that diva, that sort of dramatic person within. I have to sort of become Liszt when I play this piece. He was really one of the absolute top greatest and the most famous pianists that made the piano center of the stage and told everyone, look, this is the king of every instrument, and wrote very flashy and in a way very show-offy way for the piano, just taking it to absolute extremes. So there are all those moments when the piano appears like in an opera or something, like a soprano just entering the stage and then just wailing this very dramatic note. I have to find that person within, because I completely stop traffic so many times throughout the concerto when everyone's doing their thing and I say, stop, it's my moment to shine, you know, and that's really kind of against me in personality, but it's I have to find that person, and it is fun to really go there and reach that high point, those exciting moments. And you will see when those moments are, I think they'll be very, very clear to the audience.
I can tell from your personality, that's going to be an amazing moment. I see that Brian has a question.
Yes, hi Joyce. We know that you're talking about the size of the span for the list and the piano concerto and your size of hands, very similar to Rachmaninoff's writing. Do you find a similar experience performing and preparing Rachmaninoff music with the list as well?
I think Liszt, to me, it's easier on the reach in a way, because he sort of there is a lot of transparency to his writing, in my opinion. There's a lot of speed, lots of notes stacked on top of each other, but he rarely writes really big chords where all of my 10 fingers need to stretch to reach a chord. They're usually kind of, you know, he uses the technique of left hand, right hand, taking turns playing the chords. So in a way, it's a little bit easier in the way of stretching. It's like he uses the speed to really get all those notes added on to each other. So I think compared to Rachmaninoff, it's a little bit easier on the hands, but maybe a little bit harder on my back or something. I mean, I do feel that I need to move really as quickly as possible, because what people don't realize is I don't just play point A to point B. I need to reach point B before I play it, so I get the right note. I can't just, you know, fall from the sky. So there's a lot of movement that needs to be executed very quickly in the air. So I'm constantly, you know, you have to think about where your middle is. I have to be very curious as to sure as to where I sit on the piano. I will be scooting left and right, because it's really hard to move sideways, but it's easy when you're right in front of the action. So you'll be seeing me kind of hopping back and forth, but there aren't anything in Liszt that I cannot reach, versus Rachmaninoff second, third, where there are things that I have to strategically leave out. Because if I do play it, it will lose the integrity of the music. So it's kind of like, which one do you choose? Do you play all the notes not perfectly well, or a little bit less, but really get the message across? So it's always that conversation.
Great, thanks.
Thank you so much for that question, Brian, and wonderful answer, Joyce. And that's one thing to look when Joyce is playing the choreography. She has to get herself in position to do the things that the piece is required. Any other very quick, we have like 1 more minute with Joyce, if someone wants to chime in. Bum, 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 bum. Rika, Ricci, I can't see it. Oh, that's Patricia. Yes, Patricia. My friend Patricia.
Hi, Ben. Hi, Joyce. Not really a question, just to say I'm so excited. This is our first concert, live concert, and we're just all agog to hear you and see you. I'm not a music expert, but one of my friends was Leslie Howard, which is possibly a name not known for you because it's way before your time, but he was a concert pianist who came to Fresno a couple or 3 times for our keyboard concerts. And he was a Liszt expert, but he was huge and he had huge hands, huge. But I'm really, really excited to hear you, and thank you so much for coming to our fair city.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back, and I love that word "gog." I think I'm going to start saying it.
Agog. All agog.
Speaking of Liszt, this piece kind of does remind me in form with Liszt Piano Sonata, which is also written in one continuous movement. I think that's very interesting about this concerto, how Liszt took over 20 years to edit. This piece used to be in different movements, but within time, he melted all the movements together. So you'll hear it like one big rhapsody. There are little gaps in between, but it is a through journey it's like opening a window and finding another chapter and opening a window and finding the next one. And I think it works very well. It keeps everyone in guessing and on your toes, and definitely the tonality. He's constantly moving from one thing to the other. You can never sit and just be safe anywhere. It's such a surprising journey. So excited to present it for you, and I'll do the best I can to get it to that highest point we can reach.
Wonderful. Thank you, Patricia, for the comment so much and contributing. And Joyce, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and to share a little of your insights into things surrounding this performance of this piece. We look forward to it. Thank you so much. Everyone, let's give Joyce a big
thank you.
thank you.
See you tomorrow night.
So much. So everyone, it's activity time. It's activity time. Are we ready for activity time? Let's have a thumbs up. Activity time. Yay. So Joyce mentioned the very beginning of this piece. And so I'm going to share my Google with you. And I'm going to play the very beginning of the piece. You should be able to hear it. Just the first little bit. And do you remember? She said that it's like jumping off a cliff, right? And so listen to it, and then Rei is going to teach you how to conduct the beginning of this and work with the fermata that you see, which is this right here. So I'll play it and then put it in full screen. This is the very, very beginning. I'll play just a little more. All right, let's do that again and just get it in your ear, just the first little bit. Okay, so one thing just to notice, the same rhythms, the first two measures as measures 3 and 4. So that would be called a sequence, right? And a tonal sequence, I think. And let's get that in our ear. So I want you this time to sing along with the main line. Okay, sing it. Bum, 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 ba-da. This time I want you to sing it, and on the fanfare, I want you to say, Joyce Yang, Joyce Yang. Okay, here we go. Bum, 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 bum. Joyce Yang. Bum, 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 bum. Joyce Yang. Okay, and now Rei's going to give you a little lesson, and then we'll take a screenshot of you conducting it. So
All
I'll turn it
right.
over to Rei.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Rei Hotoda, the music director of the Fresno Philharmonic, and I am so thrilled to give you a quick conducting lesson. Are we ready? Okay. So many of you may know that this is a baton that I use for our concerts with the wonderful musicians of the Fresno Philharmonic, but I recommend using a pencil for now. So if you have a pen or pencil in front of you, put this in your hand, however it's comfortable, okay? And I'm going to teach you a conducting pattern. We're going to do a pattern in 4. So we're going to go down 1, to your left 2, to your right 3, and back up is beat 4. So let's try that. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now even faster. Let's do this in that tempo that we just heard, the opening of the Liszt Piano Concerto in E flat. Here we go. So this is the tempo. I'm going to give it to you first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. Now, the one thing that conductors always have issues with when they're starting out, like all of you, many of you, is the fermata. And it's that little note, that little symbol above that chord that we just heard, the Joyce Yang chord. Joyce Yang, right? And so we want to hold that fermata. It's like a half circle with a dot in it, and a fermata means stop in Italian. And so this is a moment where we stop the drama and actually creates more drama. And so that is always on beat 3, right? Dee-da-dum, bum, 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 bum. 3, we have to stop on 3 right here. And then with your left hand, I want you to cut it off. Okay, can we try that? Just put your baton, your pencil on beat 3, which is to your right. And then with your left hand, cut off. But you can't move the right hand. You've got to keep the right hand there and then cut off with your left hand. Okay, let's do that. Everyone on beat 3, this is the fermata, and cut off with your left hand. Fabulous. Okay, now let's do this with the music. How about that, Ben? Or do you want to take a picture first?
Let's conduct the 4 and Stephen take a screenshot.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, ready?
And 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good.
Great. And then let's try the cutoff on 3 now. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, fermata, cut off. Fabulous.
Yay. So now let's see if we can do it to the music. Here we go. Ray can count with the music if that will. No, that would be a delay. So we have to just play the music and you're on your own. Here we go. I'll back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2. So Ray, the lesson that we learned is that conducting is hard.
Thank you all for participating and trying. It's great to
Conducting is hard. So very, very briefly, see, I have so much fun we get behind. So we're going to go over a little bit, okay? But Ray, the structure of the program is a little bit different. Can you talk about the structure of the program?
Yes, we are starting off with the Liszt Piano Concerto at the very top. And I feel that this is a wonderful way to open up our season in person, finally, after being sequestered for 18 months. This is going to be such a joy, and we just wanted to come out bounding with great music and great energy and drama. And this Liszt Piano Concerto does that to the nth degree. And having a piano soloist like Joyce come from, world-renowned pianists come to Fresno and perform with us, we just wanted to highlight her right away at the top. And then we have in the middle a moment of reflection and a moment to sit back and just think about really what happened in the last 18 months, but also to have a moment to honor and remember September 11th, which is the 20th anniversary this Saturday, with a piece by George Walker called Lyric for Strings. And then we end the concert with another brilliant and which showcases the orchestra so beautifully in Mozart's Jupiter Symphony. So this is a different way to showcase our orchestra and this great music without an intermission. It will go continuous throughout. And I think it's a different way to approach a concert, but I think it will be very successful.
Well, thank you, Ray, for that. It is a different structure and it's shorter, right? And there's not an intermission. So a little bit different, but I think it's a wonderful way. And I love that you're starting with the list. What a great way to start back with a bang. It's wonderful. So let's talk a little about that middle piece. I thought maybe, Ray, what would be fun is to play just a little bit of maybe around 3 minutes. Let the audience listen to a little bit of it, a video that the BBC had. But I'm going to ask the audience to think about the emotional content. So Ray said that this is a time we can contemplate and we can think, what might be a musical term to describe that? And how might you articulate the emotion that you hear? And I'll show you then how to either in the chat or on a whiteboard, you can write that down and contribute, and we can see if there are any themes in that. Does that sound like a good idea, Ray?
Yes, fabulous.
Okay. So let me go back to my Google Chrome, do this navigation. I need to get out of that window and get into my other window. And here we are. This was a video from the BBC, and I'm going to move this to about three minutes when the piece is underway, and you'll hear a little bit of a climax. Oh man, I don't know about you, but that took me on a journey. So what I'd like for you to do, audience, if you're able to, I am going to show you how to have some fun on Zoom. So if you look at, there's a little green bar that should come down in your Zoom if you put your cursor up to the top. And it should say view options right here. It'll say you are viewing Stephen Wilson's screen or whatever it says. Then under view options, if you drop down, there's something that says annotate. And then you can choose draw or text or stamp. And you can draw on the whiteboard that I'm going to show you. My students absolutely love this feature. So see if you can do that. It's going to say you are viewing whoever's screen it is. And then you can choose that draw tool I showed you. And if that piece you heard just then made you really happy, you can show that Ruth is doing it. Or if it's a moment of contemplation, maybe it makes you a little bit sad or reflective, or you can type in an emotion. Right? That really stirred my soul. You can type that in. Ben is doing it. Ray is doing it. Powerful. You also can put something in the chat for everyone to see. You can draw a picture. The emotional contour. John did the emotional contour. Lorenzo figured it out. Good. Reflective. Powerful. So this is a thing if you're in a Zoom meeting, like with your kids or your grandkids, or you're running a meeting in your organization, using the whiteboard and sharing the whiteboard and allowing people, you can brainstorm together. It's almost like being in a classroom with a chalkboard. It's just not as easy to write. So here's a trivia question. And if we were in person, I'd give you a piece of candy if you answered it. Hearing that little segment. Can anyone guess who one of the main teachers of the composer was? A very, very famous person?
And it was a woman?
Yes, well, both a woman and a man, two very famous teachers this person got to study with. Any guesses? You can unmute or put it in the chat. If I see you at the concert, maybe I'll have a little Godiva chocolate bar in my pocket.
Was it Nadia Boulanger?
Yay! Lorenzo got it. Yes, Nadia Boulanger, who a lot of famous composers studied with. Yes, but also there's another composer that wrote a piece that sounds a little bit similar to this. You can tell that he was really influenced by this composer.
Oh, play it again.
We're relying on your memory. Samuel Barber, Adagio for strings, right? So he also was able to study with Samuel Barber. And so before the concert, you might want to mention that. So Ray, maybe now's the time. I'll share this slide, but if maybe you'd like to share a little bit about the composer.
Yes, George Walker was a brilliant concert pianist as well as a wonderful composer. And he wrote this piece, the lyric for strings that we're going to play this weekend, in 1946. So he was very young. His grandmother had just passed away. And so this piece is dedicated to the memory of his grandmother, who he was very close to. But, you know, since Black Lives Matter happened last year and the George Floyd incident, we in the arts have really, the Fresno Philharmonic has really taken to heart these composers that have been marginalized. And, you know, look at his lifespan. He just recently passed away. And yet we're just really hearing more about this Pulitzer Prize winning composer, and more of his music is being performed. And so we're really thrilled and proud that we can continue really pushing forward this initiative that we are taking in bringing these composers who are so brilliant and so needs to be recognized in our programs. And I find that this piece is just stunning and brilliant and unique. It sounds very, very lush and romantic. And I think you will really enjoy it.
Well, I know that we will. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous piece. And I know that it's just going to really impact everyone who hears it, and a great piece for reflecting on the past, it seems like 10 years, right? But thank you for programming that piece. It's very important that it's programmed. So I want to thank you all for being at the presentation. This is the end of the official Inside the Music. This is what, we're going to talk about the music part, but we have an additional part that we're going to do now, and that is we're going to see if Stephen Wilson would let us know what we can expect when we go to the concert hall, so that we don't have surprises, give us a few tips so that you can have an absolutely fabulous experience at the concert. And after that, we're going to hang out for a few more minutes. I actually have a class at noon, so I have to log out before that, but we will take any questions if we have time after. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephen.
Okay, well, thank you, Ben. And again, thanks to all of you for coming, for logging in to Inside the Music this morning. I guess the first, there are so many things that are different. The last time the Fresno Philharmonic performed live was February of 2020. It's just which in and of itself is just really, really hard to believe. And so obviously the COVID pandemic, the concerns we have, for the safety of our audience and for our performers, has really just changed, our thinking about how we're doing everything, or virtually everything, as we return to live performance. So obviously the first thing that's different is this morning, that the pre-concert talk is not something. Someone asked this question in the chat. The pre-concert talk is not something that will happen in the hall on Saturday and Sunday. One of the things we're very conscious of is time. Because that we since this is an indoor concert, this is return to indoor concert with an audience present, we wanted to be very conscious of the amount of time that everyone would be inside. Another aspect of that is the program is somewhat shorter than a normal program would be, and also we are performing the whole program straight through without intermission. Again, so that the whole time in the hall, at least from the time the music starts, should be about 90 minutes on Saturday and Sunday. So that we wanted to be concerned, that people didn't feel that, overwhelmed with how long they were going to be inside with a group like this. Obviously having the performances at Chigoyan Hall, a somewhat smaller theater, so that just the number of people there is less than if we were in Soroyan Theater with a very full orchestra and a very full audience. So, again, just trying not to overwhelm everybody. Very important, we are requiring the audience to show proof of either vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test before being admitted into the venue. So you need to bring two things with you. You need to bring your proof, whether it's your vaccine card. It's fine if it's a photo of the card on your smartphone, a photocopy of the card, or if you have one of the state apps where you have your vaccine information. All of those forms are fine, but you would need to have that proof of either vaccination or a COVID test, a PCR test that was taken in the last 72 hours, or an antigen test that was taken within the last 24 hours. And then also, very importantly too, a photo ID. We have a screening team that's going to be checking to make sure the photo ID matches the proof of vaccination or testing, so that you definitely need those two things with you. Another novel element is that we have tried to make as much of the experience of attending a concert touchless, so that we have a new digital ticket system that everyone should have received an email from us with your digital tickets. The tickets can be either printed at home or they can be shown on your smartphone. So when you get that email, there are instructions in there to click on a certain part that will get a PDF of your actual ticket. If you are a subscriber to the whole series, I believe the email had your tickets for all of the fall concerts, but you only need to bring the tickets, obviously, for this weekend's concert. But so you want to make sure you got that. If if either you didn't get the email or have any confusions or questions, just feel free to call or email our box office. That information should have been in the email as well, and they can help you out. We understand this is all new for everyone, and also too, if you happen to forget your ticket, we can deal with that on the site. We can have the ability to generate a replacement ticket on site. But this is new, but we're obviously just trying to minimize the amount of handing things back and forth. Another new element this weekend is we will have a digital program book that you'll be able to view on your either smartphone or tablet. If you have that with you, we'll be sending out the number. It's a number, you just text a number, and then you will receive in the text part of your phone a link to be able to then load the program book onto your smartphone and then view it there. So that means I have to change my pre-concert announcement. I won't be saying turn off your cell phones. I'll just be saying silence your cell phones. So you can keep your cell phone on during the concert, just make sure it's in silent mode. So if you want to be able to read the program book during the concert. And I think that, oh yeah, and I should say the other kind of major difference is we are requiring the audience to be masked inside the venue, and so we're taking, these are basically the same protocols that are being used for the reopening of Broadway in New York. The same protocol, San Francisco Symphony, many other symphony orchestras are doing very similar things, both requiring masking as well as proof of vaccination or negative COVID test. So we looked at what the industry was doing to restart safely, and we always pride ourselves on observing the best practices of the performing arts throughout the country. So we look well beyond Fresno in terms of what designing our procedures. We also work quite closely with our musicians union in designing COVID protocols for the performers. The orchestra is entirely vaccinated. Also, except for the wind and brass players, all the performers will be masked, the members of the orchestra. And also too, we have this week, actually starting before we got into rehearsals this week, started implementing a testing protocol for the musicians as well. So we worked, and I said, that was all worked out with our union representatives, to ensure that we had a safe work environment. Because we obviously take safety and health very seriously here at the Philharmonic. But our hope is ultimately, come the downbeat on Saturday and Sunday, that both the audience and the orchestra can relax, feel safe, and enjoy the music. That's where we want to get to. There's a lot of stuff between now and then, so that everyone has to pay attention to in terms of remembering what to bringing, wearing your mask, doing all these things. But really what we hope is that having done all that, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the music. And I know that we were at rehearsal last night, it still affects me quite strongly just hearing a live orchestra. It's because it's been so long. So I know you're all really in for a treat on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, and also may I add that we cannot do this without an audience. We tried, we did the digital concerts last season, and I thought that was incredible to make music for all of you digitally, and it's still available online on our YouTube channel. But you are a part of what we do on stage. This is not just one-sided. We really are dying to share our music with you. So you are a part of our music making. So I want you to know that you, the audience, are so important to us. So thank you for supporting us. We look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you, Stephen. And thank you also for still existing and for making this possible. I think everyone in hearing, what Stephen was saying, they're doing to try to keep us all safe and all of that, that's not easy, right? It's really, really, really hard. And it's also not easy to keep an organization going in these circumstances. And Ray and Stephen have done a brilliant job with that. And many of you in the room are contributors and help make that possible. So on behalf of all of the people that enjoy the orchestra and want to be going to it always and forever, thank you for keeping it going and for reopening in a responsible way. So I personally am going to have to sign off in about 5 minutes, but we have some time for questions, and Stephen is the host, so I can exit the room.
I can stay on too.
Yeah, you can stay on maybe longer than I can, but I'm gonna any questions that you have about the concert, about protocols, if you want to ask Ray about conducting, whatever you want to ask, you can unmute and ask or put in the chat.
Lorenzo.
I just throwing out there the music trivia question. It's the first 4 notes of the finale to the Jupiter Symphony. What do they represent? And everyone should know this. Come on.
Lorenzo, I don't even know this. Tell me.
Well, here's the notes first. Let's see. Right? C, D, F, E. It's the key sequence of the 4 Brahms symphonies. So whether he did that on purpose, I don't know.
Whether Brahms did that on purpose.
Right.
Lorenzo, you need to play the puzzler on NPR.
Yeah.
I love that
listen.
show. I think it's fun.
Well, it's interesting that Mozart's symphony that we're doing, the number 41, is really his tribute to the past, Mozart's tribute to the past, as well as pushing us forward into Beethoven and all the Romantic symphonies. And so I think this piece is very special in the classical repertoire. It symbolizes so many things, but that last movement is incredible with a 5-part fugue at the very end of the coda, a remarkable feat in itself. But also you'll really be astounded by the orchestra. I think they're doing such an amazing job. We did our first rehearsal last night, and we have 2 more today. So I'm really excited to share this concert with you.
Mute.
Thank you for that trivia question, Lorenzo. Any other questions for anyone? Lorenzo, we should send you a Fresno Philharmonic lapel pin.
That's right.
By the way, it's Fun Friday in my classes, so everyone wears fun clothes. So that's the. Okay. Anything else?
Actually, I have a message for Stephen.
Yes.
Because we ran into each other walking our dogs.
Right. Yes.
And and I was talking about the Mahler Symphony coming up in the spring, and it happened to be Mahler's birthday that day, but I should have mentioned that to Stephen. And on the way back, I ran into him again, and I said, "Oh, I forgot to mention it was Mahler's birthday." And he thought I was talking about Molly's birthday, which is my dog.
Oh, right. Oh, that's what I thought. Yeah. No. Sorry.
Yeah. So just to clear that up.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's we'll be you'll be hearing a lot more about Mahler as we get closer to the spring, and then launching a multi-season survey of Mahler symphony. So that's that'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, great.
Well, thank you very much, Lorenzo, Virginia, Ben, Janny, Alice, iPad, Cheryl, Brian, Clarice, Cynthia, Kaiser, Susan, and Ray's mom. You did such a good job. And Cleo, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to sign off and teach some music theory
That's
and talk
great.
about fugue writing.
Okay, thanks so much,
Take
Ben.
care.
Thanks so much, Ben, for doing this, and thanks everybody for coming. We will see you this weekend. Okay, bye-bye.
Everyone wave.